Hello everyone, welcome to a quick video I wanted to put together just to kind of get my thoughts out about Anthony Richardson. It was just announced, I believe yesterday, that Anthony Richardson would be back starting after the flip-flop between Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson. They seem to be going back towards Anthony Richardson. It's not surprising personally to me, just because how Flacco hasn't really elevated that team. Sure, Josh Downs and other fantasy assets look better, but I don't think it's really something, the team cares about as your fantasy team. So let's start with the bear case. Obviously, Anthony Richardson has not been off to a hot start with a 48 PFF grade in 10 games and only 4 passing touchdowns this season. I mean, he's clearly has not looked like what we hoped he would look like in the offseason. Obviously, I mean, I know in some super flex leagues he was going in the first round. So, I mean, the expectations were very high, but the performance hasn't really lived up to it. Now, we did know that he's young. He's extremely young entering the league at 21, and he didn't have a ton of experience. So it's kind of expected that there would be, some bumps on the road, but really kind of that the shocking thing, and I think the real reason people are concerned is the benching of him that happened, I guess, 2 weeks ago. But basically, when they benched him, people get scared. People start saying, oh, are they giving up? Are they giving up on this player? Because a lot of that is kind of the security of Anthony Richardson from a fantasy football perspective, right? It's like, oh, I have a guy that has the rushing upside that, looks like Cam Newton or Josh Allen. Like, he could be that next type of guy. That's kind of the belief, is just give him time. They might not be giving him that time, and that's the concern. So, obviously people compared him to, like, Jamarcus Russell. Obviously, Bryce Young, the situation in Carolina is similar. I guess my cause to pause with, like, the Bryce Young comparisons is Anthony Richardson does have the athletic upside that he can lean back on, right? So if he can figure that part out of, like, just playing the game, playing smart, especially short field accuracy, things like that, then, you can piece together the rest. Basically, given that now the security of Anthony Richardson is a locked-in starter is not there, all the people that are Anthony Richardson haters are coming out and saying, hurry, he's a falling knife, just get him off your roster for anything. Don't want to ride the roller coaster of Anthony Richardson. Now the believers, this is for the people that want to, they see the glass is half full. Obviously he has literally the perfect RAS score, one of the best combines ever. I mean, he has all the physical traits in the world. And I think something that people overlook is benching doesn't mean the end of a player. I think it means the end of a player, I think, as an elite dynasty asset. Like, he's not going to have a, like Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud type of rise up the board. But we have seen it before with players like Tua, Fields, and even Tua, Baker, and Justin Fields. Like, we've seen some of that to an extent where a player gets benched, people don't believe in them, weird stuff's going on in the organization. And this is kind of where, I can dabble into my thoughts, where it's like, yes, I don't think Anthony Richardson is as much of it doesn't have the security of like an elite level player like a Josh Allen or Lamar. Like, I obviously would take Burrow and Kyler and Hurts and all those guys above like an Anthony Richardson. But Anthony Richardson has a couple things that make me want to hold him, or at least see what I can get, right? And the big thing is he's 22. He's 22, and he has all the physical traits in the world that I know someone in the NFL will give him a chance. And if someone in the NFL can give him a chance, I can certainly use him as an asset in a trade somewhere where someone would be interested in that. And that's kind of the thing where I see it. Like, for example, Justin Fields starting on the Steelers earlier this year, you were able to get a lot of value for him, even though, like, the security is not baked in, and even people knew that. But the fact that Fields was starting and all of that, people started buying into it. And Anthony Richardson, to me, is just too young. Like, it's not like he's going to be out of the league. He has the physical traits that it's not like a Bryce Young where you watch him and he looks like a middle schooler on the field. Like, Anthony Richardson looks like a real football player. I mean, honestly, he kind of looks like an alien. Like, he looks bigger than everyone out there. So that's kind of the belief I have when it comes to Anthony Richardson. Obviously, I'm not saying he's an elite asset. And I guess this is kind of where, like, where do we go from here, right? That's kind of where my thoughts are at. Any first, I'm taking, right? Any first, just get me off the ride. I feel like that's a good escape from what Anthony Richardson has, right? If I could get the 111, sure, I'll take it. I can sleep well knowing that I have a pick. And something I want to touch on too is like kind of the security of a first round pick and kind of like what the first round pick threshold value is. That's something I can kind of touch on. But in general, if you just get over the fence of it's a first round pick, I'm taking that. But I'm not looking at him being like, oh, cool, I can get like 2 seconds or anything like that. Like, I frankly would just rather hold and assume maybe he has one good game, maybe the new coaching staff. Like, I assume that organization is probably getting a new coaching staff. The way the players are talking about them in the media and things like that, I assume the situation is going to change a lot next year. And we could have a Mike McDaniels type situation where he comes in and he's like, I believe in Tua. I'm going to fix this guy. We could have a similar situation with Anthony Richardson. And then, next thing you know, Tua's getting benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick and now is leading the best offense in the league. So I think that's something that we should really bake into it. Like, I think people like to panic in the dynasty space, and ultimately, you're going to hear this a few times, but I believe things are usually not as good as they seem and not as bad as they seem. So it may seem like the sky's falling on Anthony Richardson, but let's be smart, let's be calculated, and try to at least get the first, right? And whether it's you can get the first now in your league or in a couple weeks or in the offseason when they bring in a new coach and they draft some players around them or something, that's kind of where I'm looking at. But in general, I think Anthony Richardson isn't a dead asset. I think he's kind of a great asset to buy. I think he was a great asset to buy like a couple weeks ago. Now it might be a little harder because the believers that have held onto him are going to be like, oh, here we go. But ultimately, he has the upside to where all of a sudden you might be able to use him to tier up into a top level player. And that's something I want to ride in Dynasty. Because when you look at the space, it's like, okay, it doesn't matter if Cedric Tillman's doing well. Like, no one really cares about Cedric Tillman long term. Anthony Richardson will always have believers. So that's kind of where I'm at. Anyways, I think that covers all I have. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you buying into the hype of Anthony Richardson back, or are you trying to just get him off all your rosters while you can? I'm certainly excited to see how the rest of the season plays out for him. But I would love to hear what y'all think. Also, if you could subscribe, support the channel, and let me know if you like more content like this, or if there's other ideas you would prefer to see from me. I'm trying to find my groove with this stuff. So anyway, I appreciate you watching, and I hope to see you next time.